Oh, I hardly got any sleep last night. But I've got a key session this morning. If I don't get this run done, it's going to stuff my whole training week up. Should I run after such a poor night's sleep?
Now, I've been a running coach and a wellness advocate for around 20 years. And one of the number one questions that I get is, should I run or should I train after a poor night's sleep? And of course the answer is, it depends. But depends on what? Whether you run in the morning after a poor night's sleep is going to depend on, one, the amount of sleep you've had, and two, the quality of that sleep. So I'm going to go over a couple of situations. The first situation is when you've had absolutely no sleep at all. The second, when you've had less than 6 hours. But stick around to the end of the video because I'm going to give you my 4 top tips to get back into a positive sleep routine. Now, if you've had between no sleep or less than 3 hours, then you really shouldn't run. You really want to look at doing some gentle movement. So maybe going for an easy walk in the morning just to get yourself up and moving, some yoga. You definitely don't want to be lifting heavy weights or doing a high intensity interval training session, a HIIT session. Because for those things, you really need a high degree of focus on what you're doing, and that lack of sleep will take that focus away and increase your chance of developing an injury or getting an acute injury. A big thing that you need to do is plan for a slightly earlier night than the day after you've had that poor sleep. If possible, even having a little micro nap in the afternoon, but no more than 20 minutes. If you can keep it to 20 minutes, you're not going to wake up groggy, and it's not going to throw your sleep pattern further out of sync. The other thing you can do is look at trying to see a sunset. Looking at a sunset or even a sunrise can really help with your circadian rhythm and hormone regulation, which again helps you get back into that positive sleep cycle. Now the next situation is when you're sleeping less than 6 hours, so between 3 and 6 hours. You can probably still go for a run when you've had between that 3 and 6 hours, but it can't be an extra long run and definitely not one with a lot of intensity. So a 30 or 40 minute cruisy run will probably be all right. So this is where you can balance your lack of sleep and exercise and get a bit of compromise going. You don't really want to return to your training program with that high intensity or big volume until you've got your sleep pattern consistently back on track. So that's that quality sleep of between 7.5 and 9 hours. Now, research also shows when you're overtired, you tend to gravitate towards poor food choices. When you're tired and foggy, you tend to be more reactive than proactive with your food choices. So you tend to look for those high sugary, fatty, low nutritious type treats. The research also shows you have a harder job knowing when you're full. So not only are you more likely to turn towards poor food choices, but you're more likely to eat more of it. Poor food choices and too much of it will prevent you from getting restorative sleep the night after a poor sleep. And this will create a negative pattern that you definitely don't want to get stuck in. You do also have to listen to how you feel. Sometimes instinctively, your system will let you know when you can't overreach or when you can't go for a run. Now, I don't mean giving into slackness. I mean actually looking at how you feel and matching that with some data in terms of how your sleep is actually going. So if you feel like you're overreaching or your sleep's been bad for the last few nights, feel free to cut the run short, change the intensity prescription. It makes far more sense in the long run to listen to how you're feeling in the moment than just blindly following a plan. I listened to this fantastic podcast the other week which said that the best athletes have the most less impressive sessions, but they do it consistently, rather than having those big sessions that they're doing all the time when they're not feeling like it, because what happens then is you create injuries and you break down and then you lose that ability to be consistent. Over time, it'll start to become intuitive about how you sleep and exercise and how you mix them together. How you have the hard days, easy days, how you have those building weeks and the recovery week, and how you sync in the sleep with your exercise routine. If you're finding this information useful, please subscribe to the Run Experience channel. It really helps us get this fantastic running and wellness information out to the wider public. So as promised, here's some of my top tips to help get you back into a positive sleep cycle. Number 1, make sure you try to go to bed and get up at around the same time during the week. Your body and system loves regularity, so that will really help. Number 2, if you do need to have a nap to get yourself through the day, if you've had some poor sleep, keep it to around 20 minutes. Anything more than that, it's going to create a fogginess and maybe detract from your ability to get a good sleep that following night. Number 3, make sure you look at good food choices when you're tired. You're way more likely to be reactive rather than proactive. So make sure you're really mindful about those food choices and their food planning for the day after a poor sleep. And number 4, make sure you just don't tick off a session because it's there. If you've had a bad sleep, rearrange, cut the session down. Make sure you intuitively listen to how you feel. If you're overtired or fatigued and try and just tick a session off, you're going to do more harm than good in the long run. The best athletes in the world are the ones that listen to themselves, listen intuitively to how they're feeling, rearrange sessions so that they can build consistency week after week, month after month. That's how you become a successful athlete, a successful runner, and a successful human being. If you want a little bit more information on sleep and other things you can do to prevent injury, then check out this video that I did with Nate earlier in the year. It's a goodie.